Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Moore, and fellow neighbors. I'm here tonight to tell all of Morgantown about one of the best kept secrets in our city. As part of the Year of the Neighborhood, I'm going to tell you and share with you all about the neighborhood of Greenmont. The Greenmont Neighborhood plays an important role in the history and diversity of the city. Originally, the site of Kearns Fort, the area was important in the 18th century to the defense of the earliest settlers of Monongalia County. In the 19th century, Greenmont was the site of a fairground that was an important part of the social and agricultural life of the county. At the beginning of the 20th century, the area became heavily settled by immigrant families who moved into the area to work in industry and the mines. Today, Greenmont has become a neighborhood known for the close proximity of its homes and the eclectic mix of its residents. The neighborhood is divided between owner-occupied housing, non-student rental units, and student housing. More so than any other neighborhood in the city, Greenmont is an area that reflects diversity in income, ethnic background, socioeconomic status, family composition, and education. Originally a separate incorporated town, Greenmont was annexed into the city of Morgantown in 1899. The neighborhood consists of about 60 acres of present-day Morgantown. The boundaries of Greenmont extend east and west from Kingwood Street to the Hogback Turn on East Brockway Avenue, and north and south from Deckers Creek to the lower portion of White Avenue. Small owner-operated businesses have always played a vital role in the diversity of Greenmont. Small grocery stores, hair salons, and restaurants have always been located in Greenmont. Presently, there is a bakery, an upholsterer's shop, a laundromat, a hair salon, a convenience store, a car wash, an interior design studio, several bars, and many other types of businesses. Not only diverse in population, Greenmont is also the home of an eclectic mix of businesses that generate revenue for the city of Morgantown. This past week, Greenmont received new insight into its past thanks to one of our talented neighbors. Neighbor Pam Casto and her husband recently moved to Morgantown from Texas. They chose to semi-retire here because they already owned a home they had bought for their son who was in medical school. To her delight, she discovered that right in her backyard was the site of Kearns Fort, a late 18th century settlement. Pam works as a public outreach person for NASA. She also is an accomplished field archaeologist. Bursting with curiosity about Kearns Fort, Pam pulled together her talents and resources and applied for a grant from NASA. The grant funded the use of state-of-the-art technology to non-invasively scan the Earth using ground-penetrating radars. Leading up to receiving the grant, Pam had to do some serious preliminary research. She discovered in documents at the Morgantown History Museum and the Genealogy Library that Kearns Fort was likely quite larger than most had believed. Accounts were also discovered that the Kearns family took in many other families and helped to care for them after their forts were burned and destroyed by fires by warring native tribes. Evidence suggests that at one time as many as 80 people resided in the protection found within the stockades of the fort. Further research produced an account from a traveling evangelist of the late 18th century who wrote, "I have never preached to a louder, more rowdy, drunk bunch of people," as he recalled visiting Greenmont and Kearns Fort. This reinforces the belief that old traditions die hard. The radar research has discovered some underground features that arouse curiosity. There are geometric structures in the front yard of the fort, perhaps supporting structures of the fort. In the vacant lot across the street, rectangular structures arranged in a slight arc were discovered. This is provocative in that the location of the Kearns family cemetery is not exactly known. Historical accounts report that not just Kearns family members, but also slaves and Native Americans were buried in this cemetery. Did we discover some ghosts from the past? Lastly, the archaeology team was allowed to dig one exploratory hole. They did in fact find artifacts indicative of daily life in the 1700s. Among items found were a smoking pipe stem, earthenware fragments, pottery, glass, and some bone fragments. Many of these objects are undoubtedly 240 years old. This project is a prime example of how the talents of a neighbor came together with the work of a city project in the Museum Commission and the Genealogy Library to create new insight on our past. This helps guide our future and has laid the groundwork for further exploration. To understand Greenmont, you must understand its people. We just told of one talented neighbor and her role, but she is just one of many different characters that make up Greenmont. The neighborhood includes a diverse mixture of people who are involved in an equally diverse cross-section of jobs and hobbies. Professionals, craftsmen, artists, housewives, authors, and educators all call Greenmont home. We have chosen to feature a few of them in this next section. Jessica Jeffries Hamilton resides on Green Street. She is locally known as the Seed Lady. For the last several years, Jessica has been the last person to be seen in the fall, collecting seeds from all over the neighborhood and city from every garden she can. She is then the first to emerge in the spring as she distributes little packages of seeds, giving them away to others who have gardens or wish to start gardens. Through her efforts, she has inspired countless others to try their hand at gardening. She routinely visits her seedlings, of which sunflowers are her favorite, watches them grow, and spreads the word of others' gardens between local gardeners. She is a regular modern-day Johnny Appleseed. When asked why she began sharing seeds, she said, "I found it a good way to find friends and feel less lonely as I grieved for my father. Over the years, the conversations and things I have learned by talking with everyone helped me feel at home and at peace. I am glad everyone here is so friendly and willing to share what they know and love." Next, Dan Levdansky. From his small yard on Overdale Street, Dan Levinsky grows several varieties of pears. Dan skillfully and patiently grafts pears from all over the world onto Manchurian pear rootstock. From this process, he can get 2 to 3 types of pears from one tree. In the fall, Dan shares his bounty with his neighbors and at the local farmers market. Lori Wilson works as a computer systems analyst and resides on Wilson Avenue in Greenmont. Her book of poems, House Where a Woman, was published in 2009. Critics say that her work asks us to find beauty in an ordinary world. She writes many poems about the neighborhood and city in which she lives. Here is one of her poems.
January, Wilson Avenue. Yesterday, the gas bill came. Last night, I put up some storm windows, 3 if I count the bathroom where the glass doesn't fit and only leans against the frame. I'm mending a pair of pants, and since I'm just sitting and sewing, I call my neighbor, who tells me, as if I didn't know, that he's hibernating. He says the cold makes him want to hunker down until he feels like a piece of dust. He laughs, says, "I'm just babbling." I say, "I like your babbling." He snorts, "Get a life," laughs again and loud. I say, "I've got a life, thank you." He says, "I haven't had a laugh like that in weeks."
With an interest in preserving its unique diversity, the Greenmont Neighborhood Association has been formed. The goals of this association are as follows: to preserve the unique composition of the neighborhood's residents, to promote growth that preserves the unique historic quality of the neighborhood and raises the standard of living for its residents, to continue and increase the reputation of Greenmont as an area where affordable owner-occupied housing is available, and to encourage the return of families to the area. Originally begun in 1991, the Greenmont Neighborhood Association was inactive for several years until 2008. A proposed zoning change that would have opened up the neighborhood to multi-unit apartment housing was opposed by dozens of Greenmont residents who organized and went before council to voice their opposition. The momentum gathered from this launched the present-day organization. The GNA operates as a democratic body run by an executive board made up of a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and historian. Officers are elected every year, and meetings are held on the last Monday of each month. Meetings are currently held at the Reformed Orthodox Presbyterian Church on Arch Street. Begun in 2008, the Greenmont Block Party is usually held on the last Saturday in June around the islands on Arch Street between Kingwood and Green Streets. Activities have included a potluck dinner, hot dog grilling, a bounce house provided by Bow Park, children's games, and sidewalk drawing, Zumba demonstrations, and live music. Sponsors donate door prizes, and organizations such as the Fairmont Morgantown Housing Authority, MSNAP, and the Monongalia Historical Society have set up informational tables. We estimate that between 200 and 300 people have attended each year. One of the most interesting landmarks in Greenmont is the Arch Street Islands that run between Kingwood Street and Ray Alley. They are believed to be a remnant of the fairgrounds that was located in Greenmont in the 19th century, and the Morgantown trolley service that serviced the city in the early 20th century. The Neighborhood Association has created 4 flower beds located at the ends of each of the islands. The G&A also maintains each bed and cares for the grass in the islands. Each bed is filled with annual and perennial flowers and plants and adds a bit of color and life to one of Greenmont's signature areas. The Greenmont Neighborhood Association has participated for several years in a chili cook-off held at W.V. Rosenbaum's house. The event, organized by the Wiles Hill Highland Park Neighborhood Association, provides a chili cook-off and supper for families being housed at WVU's Rosenbaum house. Each year, several residents of Greenmont participate in a neighborhood cleanup. Area streets, including Route 7 Brockway Avenue, are cleared of litter and debris. Greenmont Haunt. This is Greenmont's newest event. In an effort to localize and increase the volume of trick-or-treaters in Greenmont, the Neighborhood Association began what has become known as the Greenmont Haunt. On Halloween night, the Arch Street Islands were decorated with lights in the trees, and as the sounds of spooky music filled the air, residents passed out candy to children from Greenmont and other parts of the city. Other activities included a fire pit and marshmallow roasting provided by Bow Park, a costume contest, free apple cider, and cookies. Much more popular than anticipated, we estimate that this event drew between 250 and 300 people from all over the city into Greenmont on Halloween night. Greenmont is a neighborhood of diversity. Diversity is the foundation of our past, present, and future legacies. Both Greenmont and Morgantown's histories began with the Kearns family 240 years ago as they welcomed those down and lost in the frontier into the safety of their small homestead. Then, in the 19th century, regional fairs drew hundreds of settlers annually to reunite with friends widely spread across the wilderness. Shortly thereafter, immigrants at the turn of the last century found a welcoming community far from home in a new world. And today, Greenmont continues to be a rare, special place where an intact, old-fashioned community still functions and thrives on the rich diversity of its people. Whether you are a student just starting out, a new family, an individual seeking a supportive environment, or looking for a place to live among friends, you will always be able to find a place in Greenmont to live and grow. In recent years, Greenmont has had the great joy of welcoming many new babies into our community. We have also seen many new families with young ones move in. This is exciting to us, but has also called us to a higher responsibility. There are few better spots to raise a child than in a close, supportive, talented, and diverse community. We now more than ever need to be vigilant to ensure that this fostering environment is maintained and cherished. The neighborhood has been building a close relationship with the City of Morgantown. This close relationship between our council representatives, city manager, police chief, city planners, code enforcement, parking authority, Bow Park, and many others has led to real progress and improvement in Greenmont and is imperative in building and sustaining our community. Greenmont wants to thank Mr. John Gaddis for his unprecedented leadership over his 2 terms with City Council. Mr. Gaddis has raised the bar of expectations for city leadership in his relentless advocacy and support of Greenmont. He has truly helped put us back on the map. Mr. Gaddis, your neighbors thank you and are forever in your debt. We are also excited and privileged to continue work with Mayor Byrne, who has also been there for Greenmont, particularly by building a stronger Morgantown and watching out for the bigger world outside our streets. We thank you for your past and continued support. Also this year, we want to welcome Mr. Jim Manila to the Greenmont community and to council. We look forward to his new leadership. He will undoubtedly help Greenmont grow and pursue its mission. Mr. Manila, we welcome you and look forward to working with you. To the rest of council, we thank you for your continued support of your neighborhoods. Building strong communities all around the city will make the greater whole much stronger and will continue to develop a cultural identity for Morgantown. Lastly, we want to thank Mr. Terrence Moore, City Manager, who is engaged in the community in ways never experienced before. We thank you for your streamlining of the city government, setting the bar high at City Hall, and the development of a superior city staff. In the past year, working with the city has become much easier. As a result, we are seeing real change. Keep up the good work. Greenmont is a special place. To all that live and have lived within it, Greenmont always feels like home. It is difficult to express in words what exactly this is. Perhaps that's why so many that live within Greenmont have been inspired to take to the pen or canvas. We are a proud, simple, and sometimes eccentric bunch. We always love to see new faces, so we invite you to come share this special place with us. Come take a stroll along our streets and alleys where you will certainly have the opportunity to chat with neighbors over the gardens and on porches, where you can be sure to take home a good story or two. Just be careful, you may just want to stay. Thank you everyone for this opportunity and for your continued work and in support of a stronger, closer Morgantown community.
We thank the delegation from Greenmont and their presentation, and I understand from what Jeff, you said this is the first of other presentations, or how did you?
Right, as part of the year of the neighborhood, each neighborhood will be doing a presentation to council from now to the end of the year.
Great, very good.
This is the first one.
That's correct.
This is a great beginning.
As usual.
Appreciate very much your presentation tonight. Others wish to make a comment at this point. Okay, let's move on now to the public portion.